Welcome back, dear viewers, and you are still watching Cairo Local Time. And in this segment of our program, we will talk about the energy sector here in Egypt, as President Fattah al-Sisi ordered on Saturday to continue the implementation of national plans related to enhancing the role of renewable energy. This comes in order to diversify energy supply sources on which industrial, agricultural, and urban development relies in Egypt. And to shed more light on this issue, we are joined over the phone by Mr. Mohson. He is an energy expert. Good afternoon, sir.
Hello.
Hello.
Yes.
Yes, Mr. Amr, can you first focus on the importance of diversifying energy supply sources at this stage?
Yeah, of course, it's a very logical step because when you have a number of different supplies of energy, this enhances the continuity and the sustainability of supplying energy to all the sectors, be it industrial, be it hotelry, be it residences, etc. So diversification is always a good thing, and especially when we talk about energy, when you diversify towards clean energy, that enables you to reduce the emissions and greenhouse gas pollution, etc. So it is, of course, a very, very important step, and really the government is seriously following such behavior.
Yes, sir. Egypt's strategy for comprehensive and sustainable renewable energy aims at generating 42% of its power from renewables by 2035. So how can this be achieved?
Well, we have seen a number of initiatives. For example, it's been just announced that Germany and the U.S. have signed an accord with Egypt and the EBRD, the European Bank for Reconstruction and Development, to generate 10,000 megawatt of clean energy from wind and solar resources in Egypt at a cost of $250 million. So this project, of course, will be very, very important because 10 gigawatt is quite a number, because the overall generation of electricity in Egypt is 60 gigawatts. So if just one project with the EBRD will take care of developing 10 gigawatt of clean energy, wind and solar, this is a very good step, of course.
Sir, also Electricity Minister Mohammed Shakir held talks this week with the Greek ambassador to Egypt on means of enhancing bilateral cooperation in electricity and renewable energy domains, as well as the latest developments in the joint power linkage project. So how do you see the importance of this project?
Well, it is extremely important because it will allow Egypt to export clean electricity into the European gas grid, electricity grid, which is, of course, a very important step because, especially with the problems happening in the Ukraine, the European countries are starving and really looking forward to receiving all sorts of energy from everywhere, be it natural gas, be it electricity, and if it is even clean electricity, that would make it even more valuable, of course.
So also, sir, how do you see the importance of the steps taken by Egypt to expand the establishment of companies that produce new and renewable energy?
Well, it is very important because the private sector could play an important role, not just the government.
Yes.
And we've seen this in the feed-in tariff initiative that the government has announced in 2014, and it has really resulted in many important projects. And of course, FIT is feed-in tariff, which
Yes.
means that a residential citizen or an industrial entity could install their own wind turbines or their own solar photovoltaic panels and produce their own electricity and put the excess of electricity into the national grid. So this is, of course, very important because it allows the private sector to invest, if you like, in clean energy, and that, of course, increases the cleanliness of the energy sector in Egypt, reducing greenhouse gas pollution, etc.
So, sir, what is meant by the green economy, and what about its best examples globally?
Well, of course, we all know that with climate change being really affecting many countries, especially third world countries, and the climate change being created through the very heavy pollution of, emissions of greenhouse gases and methane and carbon dioxide and so on. So any initiative that reduces the amount of pollution is very beneficial, not only to the country that does it, but also to the entire population of our planet, because it will help reduce and hopefully eliminate the climate change.
So, sir, also the government signed a number of agreements during the COP 27. So, how important are those agreements? How would they help in achieving the goals of sustainable development?
Well, it is very important, of course, because one of the initiatives that have already started to be realized on the ground is, for example, in the industrial area of El Sokhna,
Yes.
the establishment of a plant that would use the natural gas to produce green hydrogen. And of course, green hydrogen is a clean fuel, if you like. So it is very helpful in reducing greenhouse gas emissions and climate change, etc. And it's a very important initiative to be happening here in Egypt, because it will allow Egypt to export more and more energy. So not just electricity or clean electricity through cable to the European grid, but also green hydrogen that could be that is also very much needed by the European Union countries. So that creates another export possibility, creates job employment for Egypt, and creates benefits to in all due respect.
So, sir, Egypt has expanded its renewable energy projects, including building new solar parks and wind plants within the framework of the country's transition to the green economy. So, can you tell us more about these projects?
Yeah, like I just said, with EBRD, $250 million for 10,000 megawatts of wind and solar. We signed also in the industrial in the industrial area of El Sokhna with the Emirates. They will fund the capital required to generate 10 gigawatts of green hydrogen. And we have also a number of initiatives for localizing the industries of clean energy. For example, just yesterday, our Prime Minister has announced that the government intends to accelerate the manufacturing of electric vehicles here in Egypt, which is, of course, extremely important, because we all know that We have heavy traffic in many cities in Egypt, Cairo, Alexandria, etc. And that, of course, creates pollution and is very damaging for the quality of the air and the pollution that the citizens live in. So when you have through the COP27 in Sharm el-Sheikh, we saw that all the buses in Sharm el-Sheikh have been turned from burning diesel into using electricity, and that initiative that started in COP27, the government intends to also apply it in Cairo and then in other big cities like Alexandria and so on. So the government is really committed to reduce pollution, to increase the quality of the air that the people breathe, and that's through transportation using electric vehicles, which is really quite positive.
Also, sir, Bimban Solar Park is in Upper Egypt, Aswan. It's one of the important projects that took place in the past few years. So can you tell us more about its importance?
Yeah, Bimban, of course, produces 1,548 megawatt of electricity.
Yes.
And that has been quite a good contribution towards turning Egypt into a green economy and a country that doesn't produce greenhouse gas pollution, etc., etc. And of course, it has the advantage also of encouraging more capital to come into Egypt and to invest in building similar plants of different technologies, not just solar photovoltaic, but also concentrated solar heat, for example, which is also another very clean and very green way to generate electricity, and it offers also a lot of employment, etc. So there are so many benefits and there are so many opportunities, and I'm very happy that Egypt is working on what is needed in order to attract even foreign capital to come and invest into green energy technologies and green energy plants in Egypt, which will benefit everybody.
Yes. So, sir, how can we boost investments in the fields of green energy and renewable energy here in Egypt? How can we make this sector more attracting to investors?
Well, of course, to attract investors, be it local investors or foreign investors, you have to make them feel comfortable that the payback time of their investment is not going to be it's not going to take a very long time. That's number one. Number two, that the profit that they will generate from the project will be really competitive with investment in other countries and in other projects and so on. And I think Egypt is really establishing what is needed in order to attract local and foreign capital by making permissions for establishing plants a lot easier than before and reducing bureaucracy, etc. That also helps a lot. And one of the main attractions also is that you have the European Union countries as a very good customer for you that is waiting for anything that you could help them with and supply them with, be it like we said, green hydrogen, clean electricity through the connection between the Egyptian and European grids via Greece, etc. So the government is really working on making the horizon very attractive for capital to come and invest be it local or foreign capital.
Also, the political leadership is deeply interested in power linkage projects, especially in Africa, which has great hydropower. So, how do you see the importance of extending our power linkage to African countries?
Well, we are already having linkage of electricity, our Egyptian electricity grids with other neighboring countries. Our grid is connected to the Libyan grid and through Libya to the Tunisian grid. And that's to the west, and to the east we are connected to Jordan, and via Jordan we're connected to
Yes.
Lebanon in a way. So, and we've been working for 1.5 years now on connecting with the Saudi Arabian grid, and that is almost ready to be inaugurated soon. I think in a couple of months the linkage will be established, and that, of course, is very important when you link the Egyptian grid to the Gulf grids. I know this is not in Africa, but still in our neighborhood. That has a lot of advantages because the Gulf uses its peak electricity demand is different from the timing of the peak electricity demand in Egypt. So exchanging electricity, the Egyptian grid will supply the Gulf grid during their peak period, and they will return back that electricity during our peak period. So that is very, very attractive economically and strategically also. But to talk about Africa, we have in Egypt a lot of expertise in building hydro dams and so on. And we just completed the dam in Tanzania, and we are really trying to work with African countries through the Arab contractors and helping them have projects and extend their grids to supply electricity to all their inhabitants. So for Egypt, the African market, if you like, is a very attractive market and is really worthwhile looking at and putting a lot of effort into demonstrating the leading position of Egypt in the African continent.
Yes, I'd like to thank you, Mr. Mohson, energy expert. Thank you, sir, for being with us.